If we could just, address, and since Anuj is here as well, it would be nice to just address individually the uncertain future that faces some of these companies. And I'll start by asking you about Tata Steel. And the reason I ask you about Tata Steel, as I pointed out in the past, is that you have that ongoing, overhang as far as the UK operations are concerned. Now, Cyrus Mistry, very clearly, they're talking about the impairment that Tata Steel faces. Given this context, given the fact that there still has been no resolution as far as Tata Steel's UK operations are concerned, the fact that clearly, the union there wants a pause and a fresh thinking on this entire approach. We don't know what the update is on the talks with ThyssenKrupp. Do you believe that Tata Steel, Anuj, is perhaps going to be, the company that will face the most pressure?
That would be the obvious logic, but what could work in Tata Steel's favor actually is a remarkably interesting thing. When Tata Steel decided to get out of the European business chorus, it actually marked the bottom of the steel cycle. And after that, we have seen a big rally globally in steel stocks. Tata Steel included, of course. Tata Steel as well, from that point of 240, has rallied to almost 400 and now back. So I think it's going to be quite interesting on Tata Steel, because if this whole process does not go through, in that case, you might get a chance, you might get a bit of a relief rally for Tata Steel at some point. But that right now is a bit of a conjecture. I would want to watch out for what happens with some of the other group stocks. Tata Steel right now is really a complete mystery. As of now, I would say that it actually, if there's one stock which could actually benefit out of all of this, it could actually be Tata Steel. While it may look like Tata Steel actually gets hurt the most.
They have been saved from selling Tata Steel when steel was $250.
Yeah.
Now they're probably not selling it at $440.
Exactly. But,
so
that's just one way of thinking. But clearly, this whole saga is going to have an impact on all the listed stocks, Shri.
Yep, they would become trading bets and extremely volatile. Yep, go ahead, Shri.
I think we do have Roy Rickus, the General Secretary of the UK Community Union, with us on the phone line. We'll just check in with our producers. Do we have Roy on the phone with us? Hi, Roy. Thanks very much for joining us on CNBC-TV18. We're just, poring over the details of a letter that's been written by Cyrus Mistry to the directors of Tata Sons, specifically on the issue of Tata Steel. Roy, when we last chatted with you, you said that you would be writing to Ratan Tata and you would ask him to pause and do a fresh thinking as far as the UK business is concerned. Have you written to Ratan Tata? Has there been any communication from the Tatas to you post the decision for Cyrus Mistry's exit?
Well, we have made contact with Tata in Mumbai. We've requested a meeting with Ratan Tata, but it's far too early to expect a response to our request. We only made the request yesterday, so we're waiting to hear from Tata in Mumbai if they will be able to meet us to discuss the developments of this week.
Okay, so you have reached out to them, but you haven't heard yet from the Tatas. Roy, I would imagine that... Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, of course. I mean, we have done that on behalf of all of the European businesses. In Europe, we have a European Works Council, and we met yesterday, and the European Works Council have obviously reached out to Rata to ask for discussions. It's a very positive request. There's no, we're not being negative at all. We're saying that we want to meet you to talk positively about the European operations and what we now need to do to create sustainable businesses in Europe. We are aware that we have challenges, but we're prepared to help and support Tata to meet those challenges. But obviously, we would seek a meeting to clarify what the strategy now is. But so it's a very positive request that we've made.
All right, Roy, we will leave it there. That's Roy Rickus, the UK Community Union, saying that they have reached out seeking an appointment with Ratan Tata. as far to decide what the future course of action will be, or to get clarity on what the future course of action will be as far as Tata Steel is concerned and what it intends to do for its UK operations and its UK business. Anuj, Lata, you know, as we go through the details of this 5-page letter, and this was something that you know, all of us were talking about, and Anuj, you were sort of discussing this as well. You know, this charge of non-performance, that charge really, and you know, we've been talking about the way that the stocks have reacted. That charge of non-performance doesn't really stick if you go by that parameter.
You know, Shireen, there are two ways to look at this, because on the one hand, Cyrus Mistry also says that if he took only the 5 or 6 hotspots, IHCL, Tata Motors, passenger vehicle, these are the weak spots, Tata Steel Europe, Tata Power Mundra and Tata Teleservices. If you take these 5 hotspots, he says their current net worth is standing at 174,000 crores. But really, if you took a fair value, it would be 118,000 crores. You know, that is the kind of losses they are hiding. I think that is the operational number that is coming out of this. Of course, this is a moving number, but he says if you took only the 5 ugly hotspots of the Tata Group, then the net worth actually will dwindle from 174,000 crores to 118,000 crores. So, you know, that could be some indicator, pointer to the extent to which the shares may fall. Anuj?
Oh, yes. I think, you know, as I made the point earlier as well, from here on, you have almost 3-pronged weakness now in Tata Group stocks. The first is, of course, this letter, and, you know, some of these are also important issues as far as corporate governance is concerned. For example, on the nano, I think the point that you made, Lata, on that I think is important. What's happening with the, say, Indian hotels, that's also an important point of view. And also now that this is going to be a prolonged legal battle, and of course, the corporate governance premium is going to come down. My sense is this 10,000 crore market cap loss that you have seen today is start of something big as far as the Tata Group stocks are concerned.
Okay. Shireen, I think we just need closing comments now. It's very clear that this is the start of a lot of
I think we do have Mr. VR.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think we do have Mr. VR Mehta. We do have Mr. VR Mehta with us of the Tata Sons. Mr. Mehta, can you hear me, sir?
Yes, I can hear you, but you put me on line with somebody who's talking without stopping and talking. I don't know what was the background, what was he talking about?
Oh, sorry, maybe there was a cross connection.
Okay. Go ahead, Lata.
No, Mr. Mehta, we just wanted your comments. Mr. Cyrus Mistry's letter now is available to most of us journalists, and he makes several charges. One of the charges he makes is that he was appointed with a promise of being given a free hand, but thereafter the Articles of Association were modified. The second charge he makes, and this is on the independent directors themselves, he says that often they were acting as postmen to Mr. Tata. Your reactions to both these charges, sir?
Listen, I am not on the board of Tata Sons.
No, I wanted your... No, Mr. Mehta, I wanted your comment on these two charges that Mr. Mistry is making.
You see, there's a difference. Let me clarify.
Yes.
That there's a separate board of trustees for the Tata Trust. And there's a separate board of Tata Sons.
Yes.
And I have nothing to do with the board of Tata Sons. I am a trustee on Sardar-ji Tata Trust, which is one of the constituents of the Tata Trust as a group.
Yes, sir, I get your point, but you are a key shareholder.
The second point is you're talking of a letter. I have also read about this letter on the TV channels, but I have received no such letter. I'm not even familiar with this, what is said in that letter.
No, we could tell you the contents of the letter, sir. Since you are a trustee and you are a key shareholder in Tata Sons, it would be of material interest to you when the chairman of the board says that he wasn't given a free hand and that Mr. Ratan Tata was almost a rival center of power, and very often the board meetings had to be stopped so that they could take...
So that is, see, again, that is something which has happened in the board meetings, so of which we are not aware in the trust. In the trust, we have no knowledge of what went on in the board like this, of what Mr. Mistry is alleging. We have no idea of what happened there.
Okay. But would you say that this is not the way the Tata Group companies normally function? Would you want to counter him in any fashion? He says he was appointed with a promise of being given a free hand, but he never was given a free hand, and the articles of association were changed to modify the relation of the rules of engagement between the trusts, the board of Tata Sons, the chairman. The trusts are involved, sir.
Listen, you see, I can tell you with my experience of over a decade in Tata Motors as a non-executive director,
Yes, sir.
that the standards of corporate governance in Tata Group as a general thing, and in Tata Motors, particularly where I worked, are of the highest standard. I have served on the boards of many other companies as non-executive independent director. I can say without any hesitation that the standards of corporate governance in Tata Group as such are very, very high. So I can answer only to that extent. I do not know what happened in Tata Motors, in Tata Sons, and if what you say, from what you say, that Mr. Mistry is now saying that he was not given a free hand, at least I do not know as a trustee that he had any such problems which he had brought to our notice.
Okay. Mr. Mehta, I will not ask you to comment on the contents of this letter because, as you pointed out, that you have not received this letter so far, sir.
Yeah.
But may I ask you for your comment on the manner in which Cyrus Mistry has been replaced with merely a four-line statement from the Tata Group? Do you believe that this is unfortunate, at least the manner in which Cyrus Mistry has been replaced at the Tata Group?
See, again, I am not privy to what happened in the board meeting and how it happened. So, to that extent, I cannot comment on that. But I can definitely say that what happened is sad, but probably there were very little other choices.
Okay. You think a rapprochement is still possible, sir?
Sorry?
Do you think a rapprochement is still possible?
Well, it's a hypothetical question at this stage. I have no idea. Again, you see, this is not something which the trusts are involved. You know, trusts don't go into these operational situations in Tata Sons. That is handled independently by them, and on a day-to-day basis, we have no idea what is happening there and what the board does.
Sir, Mr. Mehta, sir, you know, if I can. I know that you have not read the full letter, but the letter is very specific. You say the trusts don't have anything to do with the daily operations, and we completely take that point. But if I can quote from the letter verbatim, Mr. Mistry is pointing out a very specific instant, and I quote, once the trustee directors, Nitin Noria and Vijay Singh, had to leave a Tata Sons board meeting in progress for almost an hour, keeping the rest of the board waiting in order to obtain instructions from Mr. Tata. Such a work pattern has also created the added risk of contravening insider trading regulations and exposed the trust. This is a very specific instant. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this when it happened, but in light of this revelation, how would you react to some of the questions that my colleagues were putting to you earlier, sir?
I have no idea of this. I am not aware of this incident or this happening which you are mentioning.
Okay. All right.
Mr. Mehta, may I ask you, sir, because this letter also says that these circumstances forced me to circulate a note on corporate governance in order to clarify the distinct roles of Tata Trusts, the Tata Sons board, and the boards of operating companies. Are you aware of this note that Cyrus Mistry has allegedly circulated to Tata Sons, to the Tata Trusts, and the boards of operating companies on corporate governance?
What note is he talking about?
It says these circumstances forced me to...
I didn't get the first part of your question. I didn't get the first part of it.
I will just repeat myself, sir.
Yeah.
The letter states, these circumstances forced me to circulate a note on corporate governance in order to clarify the distinct roles of Tata Trusts, the Tata Sons board and the boards of the operating companies. Were you in receipt of such a note on corporate governance? Were you privy to a discussion on separation of the roles and of the Tata Trust, Tata Sons board and the boards of operating companies?
No, I am not aware. I am not aware of this.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mehta, if you can stay on, sir, for just 1 minute. We have another expert joining us more as an investor in several of the Tata companies. Sanjay Dutt of Quantum Securities is with us.
It's important where we're calling Sanjay Dutt because, he told us yesterday that he won't buy any Tata Group stocks at this juncture, Lata. So, I think let's put that in context.
Yeah, Sanjay, this letter now is out in the public and you must have read most of the contents on the television channels. Your thoughts, do you think that a lot more such dirt will come and will hurt the company's stocks?
Absolutely, Lata. In fact, I was quite clear yesterday and I'm very clear today and probably will be clearer in the days ahead that, there was definitely more than what was apparent. And my basic grounds, if you recollect yesterday morning, was that the normal corporate governance or what the corporate governance practices and ethics that you expect from the Tata Group were not followed in, telling the chairman to go away. There should have been, there has to be in such situations, absolute clear-cut communication to the shareholders, to investors, to constituents, to bankers, to everyone as to what was the background of what had happened. My complaint yesterday was that because, you suddenly did a mumbo-jumbo.
Yes.
You send him out and tell him to stand at the corner and hold his ears. So I think that was my biggest problem. And now, obviously, it's all coming out of the open as to what was behind all this.
Sanjay,
because you, after all, took a decision to appoint Cyrus Mistry. And whatever allegations that we're reading about now are very grave. And as an investor, it gives me no comfort whatsoever. And in fact, it takes away the Tata premium that one thought Tata companies had if any of these are true. Because
okay.
the only
Sanjay, that is the big question now. How much damage for Tata Group stocks, especially for the bigger ones? There, of course, is this Tata Group premium that goes away, or at least that comes down significantly, the corporate governance premium. There's this legal battle which is going on. And again, some of the issues that Cyrus Mistry has raised, some of these are quite damning. So how much more damage for Tata Group stocks from here on?
Anuj, I think it's very difficult to quantify the damage because, you'll have to go across companies and see where finally deep value will emerge or where compelling value will emerge, and you would have shaved off the premium completely and you would actually be, buying any other business without the Tata name or any other business with a brand name which is known to the consumer. Don't forget the Tata aspect to it. So you would finally have to drill down to each company and take a call. But one thing is very clear that in a situation like this, when you've got these boardroom battles happening, irrespective of Tata or anyone it may be, whether they're family battles or anything, it's not the right time for investors to venture out because you don't know how long they get protracted, where they head out. Come on, at the end of the day, we must understand it's a market where we've got 2,000 stocks, of which 500 are good quality. Why do I have to invest in these 50 or 60 companies? I can invest in 150 or 500 others.
Mr. Dutt, hi, Prashant here. Is there another way to look at this? What Mr. Mistry has essentially done is what an activist shareholder will do. I mean, we've seen this happen with American companies. People take large stakes and then go about kind of, sort of transforming the company. There are two parts to this letter. One is the corporate governance side of things. The other is the financials. I, with a simple, widely used software called Capital Line yesterday, was able to kind of come up with almost the same numbers that this letter has. For example, 60% of the capital employed of the group was in 5 companies. It was in companies where return on capital employed was less than 10%, and many other things like that, right? Now, Mr. Mistry obviously had access to much more granular data. So if you leave the corporate governance things aside for a bit, do you think these revelations will galvanize the group in the current form and whichever management might take over in the future to act? I mean, they can't, with these out in the open, they can't stay insular. How would you read that perspective, sir? Would that make sense?
Very good point you raised. But an important question which I want to pick up where I was hearing Shireen a little while back is that who's going to come and carry the can at this point of time and sorry for using the wrong word, but actually clean up the mess. I wanted to use another four-letter word here, but the fact is, and that's the biggest question that we need to answer. So if you're going to once again get a person who's kind of within your own group, a so-called dummy, as what Cyrus Mistry has alleged, where he's saying that the two directors had to go out of the board meeting and take an hour, the whole board sat and waited for an hour. If that's the kind of situation you're going to continue to be in, if there is truth to what he said, what his allegations are, I have a problem because I don't think any serious global professional running a group like Tata, whether we're throwing names like Indra Nui, XYZ, would actually want to venture into this to do what you are saying, Prashant. So
that is the point. That's the point that I've been making as well, Sanjay. But I do want to point out that these are allegations that Cyrus Mistry allegedly is making in this letter. So we have to take that for what it is. These are comments that are coming in from Cyrus Mistry. We will have to wait for details or a response from the Tatas. And we also do want to point out that this email that has been scooped by journalists, again, there is no way of verifying at this point in time whether we have of course reached out to Cyrus Mistry to check about the veracity of the contents of this letter. But that apart, this is going to be a difficult period for the Tata Group. Mr. V.R. Mehta still with us. Mr. Mehta, if I could ask you, sir, what would you like to see happen at this point in time? There is a possibility of a courtroom battle. We don't know whether finally that option will be exercised. But do you believe that it is an option best avoided?
Well, a courtroom battle is always, it is good if it is avoided. I don't think anyone would welcome that. But beyond that, for me to speculate what is going to happen, I think it would be an astrologer's job. Yes,
and I don't want to go down that road, Mr. Mehta, but I do want to ask you, sir, do you believe that the events over the last 48 hours are going to cost the Tatas significantly? The reputational cost of this, perhaps at least in the short term, is going to be significant, is it not, sir?
It's not necessarily so. I don't believe, because you see, after all, people understand these kind of things do happen, and sometimes, some drastic actions are also required. So I would not imagine that by itself it is something which should necessarily lead to loss of reputation or anything of that kind. And given the fact that Tata Group has a reputation which is unmatched by any other group, I can even say without hesitation of the contradiction, I don't think it is going to, by itself make a dent.
Do you worry about succession, Mr. Mehta? I know that the Tata Group has set up a selection committee and has said that within 4 months they hope to have a successor in place, and that Mr. Tata has been brought back only as an interim chairman. But do you worry about finding the right candidate as a successor, given what has transpired and how the developments of the last 48 hours have played out?
You see, if I know Mr. Tata well, he stands by every word that he utters, every word he says, publicly or privately even. I have not seen him waver even one bit. And if he has said that he will stay as interim president for 4 months in which he expects to find a successor, I would go along with that. I would not have a quarrel with that. And I think it may be 4 months may be looking short in the light of the time it took last time. But maybe, see, this time they'll be able to do better. And draw on the experience of the past to hasten the things, to expedite the things. So I don't believe that
Mr. Mehta, you know,
it cannot be done in 4 months.
yeah. Mr. Mehta, what would your expectation now be as far as the Tata Group is concerned? Because, you know, this has dented the trust that people have in the brand, the trust that people have in the Tata name. What would you like to see the Tatas do at this point in time, the Tata Group do specifically, to try and win back that trust and that credibility?
As I said, you see, this kind of things do happen, though not very frequently. And it is sad that such a thing has come to pass. But I don't believe that it will make any significant or perceptible dent to the reputation of Tatas as such. I'm sure they will handle it well. Of course, I am not a part of that part of the system, so I would not know how they will handle it or going forward. But I would expect that key to this will also be the new person. See, after all, what can be done in these four months will be largely, you know, for short-term requirements, right? And it would not be the long-term things will ultimately have to be handled by the new person and whatever team he has.
Do you believe, Mr. Mehta, that at this point in time, it would perhaps make sense to assess what the future strategy of the Tata Group would need to be? Because Mr. Mistry, and the one significant point of friction or difference, if I could use that word, between Mr. Tata and Mr. Mistry seems to have been Mr. Mistry's efforts to try and prune down the number of businesses that the Tata Group operates across and focus on what he would like to position as core businesses that will generate profit for the group going forward into the future. Do you believe that at this point there is a need to review and reassess the length and breadth of the Tata Group, this large conglomerate?
Well, that process of review has to be a constant process, and in any case, it will be taking steam after a new person joins, I'm sure. That is where it will have to start in a real, you know, result-oriented fashion.
All right, Mr. Mehta, we will leave it there, sir. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC-TV18. I understand that this is a sensitive matter. Thank you very much for speaking with us here on CNBC-TV18.